cannot talk about matters in the 21st century without mentioning climate change or capitalism. I mean, it is at the bone of contention of every other political conversation or social conversation. And at the heart of this motion today is the topic, capitalism is a deterrent to the fight against climate change. I read the motion again. Capitalism is a deterrent to the fight against climate change. Proposing and opposing this motion is Light Academy versus Moi Girls School, Nairobi. Team proposition, first speaker, you have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, join me, Shaliki Bagendi, a proud representative of the Moi Girls School, Nairobi, ready to propose this motion. Let me define these terms before I begin. Capitalism is the economic and political system in which a country and trade and industry are controlled by the private owners for a profit. Deterrence. Deterrence is making somebody less likely to do something by making it difficult for them to do it, or by making them realize that it will have a bad result. Climate change. Climate change is the long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. Climate change can be caused by deforestation, burning of fossil fuels, and increase in livestock farming. Yes, so most companies in the world are self-owned. Like this motion, in simple terms, it means controlling of industries by private owners, making it difficult to fight against climate change. Yes, so on to my first point. Food production and waste is at a high with about a third of food production and waste by private companies is at a high with about a third of fruits and vegetables being rejected for looking wrong before it reaches the shops. When the food rots, it releases more greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. When it releases these greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, they form a layer which eventually leads to the ozone layer breaking even further, to the reduction. Hence the effects you get from the ozone layer reducing. Yes. So these private companies, they mostly do these things without caring what effects it has. For example, these private companies do these things without caring what effects it has to the people. So by emitting these harmful gases and by doing all these other things which are not good, they won't help us. Yes, thank you for your time.
Team opposition, first speaker, you have 3 minutes.
My name is David Mwanga, a son of the dynasty that is Light Academy, here to dispel the rumors that Team Proposition is propagating. First of all, capitalism is an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit. While its antonym, communism, is a theory or system of social organization in which all property is owned by the community and each person contributes and receives according to their ability and needs. Now on to my points. First of all, not only is it not a deterrent in the fight against climate change, it aids and helps in the fight because of the points I'm about to present. Point 1 is market-based solutions. Capitalism promotes the use of market-based solutions, especially to address environmental challenges. Two of the most common ones being cap and trade and a carbon tax. The former, the definition being a system for controlling carbon emissions and other forms of atmospheric pollution, by which an upper limit is set on the amount a given business or other organization may produce. These market-based solutions are implemented by countless countries across the globe, such as the United States of America, and has greatly benefited them in so many ways. By implementing mechanisms such as carbon pricing or emission trading, market forces can incentivize businesses to reduce their carbon footprint and invest in cleaner technologies. This approach allows for flexibility and efficiency as it encourages businesses to find the most cost-effective ways to reduce emissions. Number 2, profit incentives. These can be used to drive change as the demand for sustainable products such as electric cars and other eco-friendly services, technology, and equipment increases. Businesses can see it as an opportunity to tap into new markets and generate profits, which will incentivize companies to invest in environmentally friendly practices and technologies, leading to the adoption of cleaner and more efficient processes, bettering our environment, bettering our country, bettering our continent, and bettering the world at large. Thirdly, and lastly, investment and financial mechanisms. Capitalist economies provide access to investment and financial mechanisms that can support climate change and mitigation of adaptation efforts. The availability of capital markets allows for the allocation of resources to sustainable projects and initiatives. Additionally, financial mechanisms like green bonds and impact investing provide avenues for investors to support environmentally friendly ventures. Thank you for your time.
Team proposition, second speaker, you have 3 minutes.
Capitalism. The law of capitalism. The law of capitalism states that the more you work, the more you accumulate. We live in a world where capitalists have advanced so much in their programs. Look at Elon Musk. I believe you are familiar with the name. A man who also believes in the economic philosophy of capitalism, launched his first successful rocket under his company, SpaceX, on the 28th of September in the year 2008. This led to greenhouse emissions that led to advanced climate changes. The climate changes that capitalists are fighting also hard to deter. And if you don't know, before the first space rocket was launched, there were 3 attempts. 3 attempts that failed terribly. This was due to fuel leaks. They caused fires. Don't you see the irony in this man, Elon Musk? He is the CEO of Tesla, a non-fuel emitting company, yet still the owner of SpaceX. This is closely tied to the private car manufacturing companies all over the world. They blatantly refuse to switch to other options that would deter carbon emissions that cause climate change. My opposer said that carbon tax is a system that can be used to fight climate change. But according to statistics that come from assessment tests of climate change by the Environmental Protection Agency, carbon tax is a system that has terribly failed in very many countries and has been implemented mostly by the non-capitalists. He talks about cars that do not emit carbon. For example, my example, Tesla. Tesla right now is terribly failing. Their sales are going down. So kindly make me understand, my honorable interlocutors. With these points, where are we heading? You talked about capitalists contributing to change. You said, and I quote, they can contribute to change, but do they contribute to this change? Again, according to the Environmental Protection Agency, Canada, a country with the highest total waste emissions, has 1.21 million, I'm talking million, private companies that have been found to substantially contribute to climate change. Let us embrace a culture of embracing reasonable production. Let us embrace the use of renewable sources of energy, such as hybrid fuels. I believe that every word that I have shared on this stage has been sentimental. And I hope that you, my panel, feel the same. I am grateful for every moment that I have had on this stage. Thank you.
Team opposition, second speaker, you have 3 minutes.
I, Glenn Laboso from the Light Academy, is here to strongly oppose a motion that states that capitalism is a deterrent to fight against climate change. Off to my first point, economic growth and resources. As we know, through the years, capitalism has led to increased economic growth and development of resources necessary for addressing climate change. These resources can be used to invest in clean technology, research, and infrastructure improvements which can be used to combat climate change. Let me give you an example. Germany. Germany is known for its strong capitalist economy and has invested heavily in renewable energy. It has implemented policies such as feed-in tariffs and renewable energy, to say the least, which has helped it become a global leader in terms of solar power and wind power. Off to my next point, consumer demand. In a capitalist system, consumer preferences and choices play a significant role. As awareness for climate change grows, consumers are increasingly demanding for sustainable products and services. This will allow for introduction of renewable energy, such as geothermal energy, which is eco-friendly as compared to use of petrol fuels, which contribute to pollution and leads to degradation of the environment at large. Businesses can respond to the demand of these consumers by offering eco-friendly alternatives, leading to development and adoption of greener practices. Capitalism can harness consumer power to therefore drive positive change, such as the introduction of renewable energy. Off to my next point, collaboration and global action. Climate change is a problem that requires international cooperation and collective action. Through trade and economic interdependence, collaboration among nations can be fostered to address climate change. Let me give an example of the European Union. The European Union has implemented various mechanisms to promote economic interdependence and address climate change. The European Union emissions trading system, which creates a market for greenhouse gas emissions allowances, and it encourages countries to reduce emissions efficiently by allowing them to trade emission allowances. Countries can therefore work together to establish common standards, share knowledge, and coordinate efforts to mitigate and adapt to climate change, and hence bring about alternative energy sources. That was my time. Thank you.
Team proposition have been asked, aside from capitalism, what else is a deterrent to achieving climate change? Team oppositions have been asked to clarify on the EU policies that they had instigated. How do they necessarily tie to the motion of capitalism and climate change? Team proposition, third speaker, you have 3 minutes.
I will begin by answering the question asked. So we all know the factors that cause climate change. For example, deforestation and burning of fossil fuels. So we've been asked what else contributes to the deterrent of the fight against climate change apart from capitalism. Well, we have ignorance by the general public, people who are not aware of what they do that has a negative impact on the environment, and also lack of government action on people who are causing climate change. I would like to continue with a quote from Muhammad Ali. Climate justice doesn't start with telling people from developing countries to use paper straws, but instead it should start by holding corporations accountable for their impact on the planet. Aviation and oil-producing industries are extremely crucial to our society today. Aviation, for example, allows us to connect with our family members in different lands and also is important in many business transactions. Therefore, we cannot do without them. But we cannot ignore the negative impact that these two industries have on our climate. ExxonMobil, founded on the 5th of August 1882, is an American multinational oil producer, mainly accused and criticized for environmental incidents and its history of denial on its climate change impact. A company like ExxonMobil is responsible for very large oil spills. For example, the Exxon Valdez oil spill of 2010, which is the second largest one in US waters, that resulted to the economic downgrade of Cordova, Alaska, where it took place, and adversely affecting the stock of salmon and herring in the area. It also led to a decline in recreational sports, fisheries, and reduced tourism. Huge protests against ExxonMobil were held in September 2015, but no serious action was taken. If we are to look at the aviation industry, worst airlines when it comes to carbon emissions include South African Airlink, Egypt Air Express, Kenya Airways, and Delta Connection, most of which are privately owned. Therefore, I think the fact that these companies are ruining our environment cannot be denied, and therefore we should encourage carbon offsetting by these companies, which is the growing of trees, and which can be done by growing of trees and donating to green energy projects. That has been my time. Thank you.
Team opposition, third speaker, you have 3 minutes.
I come before you from the third speaker of the side opposition to oppose the motion that capitalism is not the deterrent to fight against climate change, because they come here to view that capitalism is the deterrent, rather it is the solution, because they view that communalism, as my first speaker stated, which it means that we'll be giving the power to the government. This overlooks the common mwananchi. This overlooks the person who is suffering, because if the government takes into aspect, which I'd like to start with, collaboration as my first point, because if the government is to collaborate with if the incentive companies are to collaborate with each other, they will have to set in policies, as which I'll be answering the question on e-trading, because they will set in policies such as carbon taxing, which will result in a certain company, which in the European nations, to be able to answer this question, to be able to take part in carbon taxing by paying this money. And a company has the aim of generating money. If a company cannot generate money, that means it will close down. This is a business that wishes to make money. They do not wish to lose. So how do you expect this business to generate money if they'll be losing their money to carbon taxing? Thus, they will have to reduce the amount of money they lose. So that degrades the motion that on the example of oil spillage, because in this oil spillage of 2010, this means that the incentive company had to pay due to the loss which was caused to the people. So this resulted in the other companies taking this as an example and avoiding this. Second of all, on her point for the first speaker on consumer demand, where capitalism, whereby capitalism resulted where goods, produced goods, reach the market which they are spoiled. As I've said, a company is someone which is a business that wishes to attain a profit. How would someone who wants a profit let goods reach the market without having satisfied the consumer needs? Because the consumer is always right. Because the customer is always right. So how do you expect this to be achieved? If something is reaching the market when it's spoiled, how will they be able to eat? Even if you are to look at communalism, if these fruits were supposed to reach the market when they're spoiled, they will not make a profit. This results in degradation of earnings, which could cause for environmental degradation, because if there are no resources to contribute in waste management, which will be brought about if capitalism is implied, this will not be achieved, and this will lead to degradation of the environment, such as solid waste pollution. Second of all, I'd like to bring into an example of how these other factors, such as communalism, which cannot be applied, because we can take the example of during the scandal in 2019, whereby China was distributing fish to Kenya. Kenya is not a communist, but China is. China is viewed as a communist because it contains a communist party which distributes these products. If a communist party is distributing products which are $22.17 million of fish which contains lead and mercury, which was stated by the African nation, as I quote, how would you be happy to allow this nation, rather than a nation such as Switzerland, which plays a role as a capitalist, which has been able to apply factors such as carbon taxing to achieve this, how would you allow this to occur? You can't. That is why capitalism is the solution, and I believe that you should also view capitalism as the solution towards this deterrent of climate change, because it brings more to the table as compared to communalism. Thank you.
In proposition, you have 1 minute to make your closing remark.
Shamala Elizabeth of the Moore Girls School, Nairobi. As for the protagonist side, we have one parting shot. Lads and ladies, the tragedy caused by the climate crisis is one that will have consequences to be faced by 7.5 billion people who live on this planet, a population that is only rising. Therefore, whether we are talking about the one private company in Kenya or the 1.2 million private companies in Canada that are contributing to climate change, we cannot forget to hold them responsible for their very detrimental actions. Thank you.
Team opposition, you have 1 minute to make your closing remark.
As my closing remark towards her point is, we cannot overlook that one person cannot contribute to a chain of reaction, because one nation contributes to all. We are one. As the saying goes, umoja ni nguvu, utengano ni udhaifu. Together we are strong, divided we are weak. If one nation is not able to contribute towards this, nothing will be occurred. If colonialism is given to what she views as Canada, giving power to the government, this will not be achieved because the government will overlook us as the common mananchi. That one citizen must be able to have a say, and this is what the incentive companies brings to the table. These incentive companies brings an ability for everyone to have a say within this world. This allows for everyone to be able to say that if this is bringing a problem, we can apply waste management, we can apply recycling, which will be able to deter, as China being one of the most polluted countries with having 18.47%, which was stated by the World Ometer. Can you imagine if this country was being able to apply what capitalism countries are able to apply? Do you think there will be a great change within our nation? A superpower could be able to bring great change. What about a small country? Look into that kind.
Moi Girls, first proposer Shali, quite a wavy start. Good definition of terms though. Talked about food production, but you started in your submission. Then at some point you went blank, yeah? And all of us are wondering what is going on. So I think you need to work on that. Lois, you talked about Canada, very good examples, approximately 1.18 million private entities, which is very, very true. Very confident, but how sure are you that Elon Musk's project SpaceX is actually releasing, or is actually a hazard or a hindrance to climate change? Do you have those facts? You wanted to see that. Shamala, excellent articulation of words. I think I liked how you had a strong command of vocabulary. You solidified your argument with quoted research. However, you really read from your script, which was not very positive. So I would that you spend time and internalize the facts you have so that you wouldn't have to read. You underused time, which is quite a penalty, when giving your final sentiments. Light Academy, David Mwanga, quite a solid start. Very good points, but you swallowed your words, yeah? At some point you swallowed your words. We couldn't hear you clearly. So I think you need to build and work on that. I think you read too much from your script. Yes, yet you had so many good points. If only we would have heard them more clearly. Glenn, very confident. Good examples of Germany. Very solid points, but you're also affected with reading from the script, but you talked about economic growth and resources, consumer demand for sustainable products, very, very true. So you had very good points there. Collaboration of private entities, which was also very, very solid. Noah Kamau, I think you tried to save the team, yeah? You really tried to save your team with confidence and, having a positive side of the emotion and understanding it. You also solidified on the points which were built by your colleague about collaboration. You understood your points, and actually you are one of the few who did not really read from your script. So that was very, very impressive.
The debate genuinely was, it was heated, you could tell. It was a topic that's invested mostly on between capitalism and communism, which we tried our best to bring out, but it seems we didn't catch the eye of the judges in the audience. But we promise that the next time we come back, we'll try our best to achieve what the judges dream of, and we'll try and work on, reading from the book.
Actually, this was an impromptu motion. We asked others another motion, but it's okay because we've accepted the results and we'll improve on ourselves from here on out.
I think it is a very resourceful debate. We learned a lot, and hopefully we'll fix our mistakes and get a better outcome next time.
It taught me so many new things that I didn't know, and I can't wait for next time.
We were given the motion today, and I think that's why it was pretty intense.
Yeah, the debate was great. Yeah, more girls for the win.
The judges have awarded Light Academy with 63%. A round of applause, please, for Light Academy. And the judges have awarded Moi Girls School Nairobi with 66%. A round of applause for Moi Girls Nairobi. And the winners of this debate are Moi Girls Nairobi. Round of applause, please, for both teams. And we have come to the end of this debate. And until next time, it is goodbye from us here at the Debate Circle. Remember to check our social media platforms for more of this sort of conversation on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Instagram at the Debate Circle. And until next time, it is goodbye from us.